Good afternoon, Bison fans, and welcome to our Bucknell men's soccer virtual season preview show. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I'm joined today by Maisha Kelly, our Senior Associate AD for Development. And we want to take this opportunity to thank Giant for sponsoring this year's season preview series. Giant's been a great partner for Bison Athletics over the years, and we thank them for all their work here today. We've got a great lineup for you today featuring head coach Nash and three of our current players, MJ Kursica, Jameson Raleigh, and Alex Clark. And now it's time to welcome in the head coach of the Bison, head coach Brendan Nash. Thanks for being here, Brendan. So Brendan's in his 22nd season as the head coach of the Bison and his 25th overall with the program. He's led the Bucknell men's soccer team to 186 wins and 4 Patriot League championship titles. Brendan, we're going to set the stage here for today's show with some questions from Maisha about your program's return to play.
Sounds good. Thanks, Todd.
Coach, good to see you. Glad that you could be on with us here this afternoon. We're going to jump right in. As we know, there's been extensive preparation and planning to get back to a return to play. So can you amplify a bit what are some of the protocols that your staff and your student athletes have to go through from a health and safety standpoint as we navigate this environment?
Yes, when we eventually get to our student athletes, I would say they are a little frustrated because we have to be so safe during all this. But as a program, we haven't been able to play or train. But our student athletes have been testing every Wednesday to make sure that we are safe. We have had a few student athletes that were put in quarantine. Bucknell's doing a very good job of making sure that the campus is safe as possible. But I think our student athletes have been frustrated because what they're used to is playing soccer and Coach Nash telling them what to do. And this is what we're doing on Monday, and this is what we're doing on Tuesday. And for them, I think they are frustrated because Coach Nash isn't used to saying, I don't have the answer for you guys. But we're doing the best we can. We're going to get back into small group training soon, and hopefully we get to play. Some Division I men's soccer teams and women's soccer teams have been playing, and they've been pretty safe over the last month. So let's just hope that works out for Bucknell as well.
No, that's great. And that's exactly, we know much of that preparation and planning has to do with, right, the opportunity to play, and particularly playing a Patriot League schedule that we know is certainly unique this year, given just moving the fall to spring. So can you share what you and your peers, the input, the conversations that you as Patriot League head coaches engaged in as you started to give feedback on schedules, and then also just what the conversation has been, should a team have to pivot, and how folks would respond in that way to that?
Yeah, and we have 10 Patriot League schools, and we have 10 different leadership decisions going on. And so we follow President Brahman's leadership and Jermaine Truax's leadership, and we respect the decisions that they make for us. Other schools might make different decisions, and we have to adapt to them. One of the things is Navy is in our division, and they're just going forward. So we have to adapt to that, and they have to respect the fact that we're making different decisions than them. As far as coaches, again, we're 10 different coaches. So trying to collaborate it's pretty tough, because what's going on in Worcester versus what's going on in Hamilton, New York, versus what's going on in West Point versus what's going on in Lewisburg, it's all different. So we haven't really shared that much. It's just kind of plow forward for your own program and do what's best for your student athletes.
Coach, I'm more so talking about just scheduling, like, so the structure of the schedule, like the things where, the fact that we're in division. So if you want to sort of just amplify what the Patriot League season will look like, and with regard to divisions and how play will proceed.
Well, I actually, when they first broke it down for us, I looked at it, and there's 5 teams in the Southern Division and 5 teams in the Northern Division, and the 5 teams in the Southern Division, we all made the playoffs. So I thought it was a little bit unfair competitively, because we had to play some pretty tough teams, but we have the opportunity to play Navy, Loyola, American, and Lehigh. That's our division. our non-divisional game is Lafayette, who was also in the championship game. So that game doesn't count, but every game does count for us. The northern teams, they have to compete against each other, and whoever comes in first and second in both divisions will go to the semifinal. We'll eventually have a Patriot League champion. And I actually like our team's chance. I think we have a very good group, and they've forged forward through all this. And I'm excited for the 6 games that we have to play.
Good. Talked about, so certainly there's been some stop and go with regard to as you prepare for what is going to be this season in the spring. Can you just share, given now it's been over a year since the teams actually competed, and the way that we're navigating through this environment, but what do you see as being some of the physical and mental challenges that may have presented, and how has the team risen to the occasion as we get here ready to, kick off and play some soccer this spring?
Yeah, and it's I just turned 50 in December, and I've never been through something like this before. Usually August is when you start getting sore for preseason, and our preseason is going to look like no preseason that we've ever been through before. So as coaches, we're trying to navigate it. The most important thing is our student and athletes' health and wellness, and we can't push them through a preseason like we usually would back in August, because they had 3 months off and they were preparing for, they were running all summer. They were doing everything they needed to do. However, they've been limited to what they've been able to do with a soccer ball, without a soccer ball. As coaches, we've been limited with how we can coach them. We haven't been able to do much with them. So it's just one of those things. And when the student athletes get on there, they can tell you that it's a challenge, because all they hear is the coaches saying, you need to be fit, you need to take care of your body. But we just have to trust that they're doing the right things.
Brendan, obviously there's some challenges with playing a soccer season at this time of the year, late winter, early spring. What do you hope to get out of an abbreviated season if your team's able to get that completed this year?
Well, we haven't won a championship since 2014. So that's what we want to accomplish, is getting back to the championship. And many players that have played for me, that those student athletes know what the feeling is of a championship. So whether it's a 23-game season or it's a 6-game season, we're not going to change how we do things. Once we get to practice, we're going to do it the Bucknell way. And we're going to get to practice. We're going to work hard, and we're going to prepare for Navy. Then we're going to prepare for Lafayette. Then we're going to prepare for Lehigh. Then we're going to prepare for Loyola. So we're not going to change a lot about what we do. We just have to be very careful about how their bodies are going to respond to what's going on.
So, Coach, as I referenced we haven't seen the team in action since fall of 2019, and last year's conference season, regular season, was an interesting season for the team. So you had 2 wins, 5 ties, and 1 loss. Excuse me, 2 losses. And then in Patriot League conference tournament, which we always know can sometimes be a reset, and anything can happen in men's Patriot League soccer. You had a great win in the quarterfinal over Navy. And then you actually had a 1-0 game, which Lehigh was the victor in that semifinal. But so things that you learned from last season that you hope will carry over into this season?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we can take a lot from 2019, because we lost quite a few players. But what we tried to implement in the fall, we started to bring our incoming, and MJ is going to be on here later. We have a very good freshman class, so they're going to try and replace the senior class that was pretty special. Bernie was a good player. Quinn Brennan was a good player. Nick King was a good player. Patrick Mahoney was a good player. We had a very strong senior class. So how do you replace what they can do on the field and off the field without playing? That's tough to replicate. So we actually have to get out there and play the games. One of the things we did in the fall is we played a few 11v11 games, and we finished up the fall season with the orange and blue game. And Coach Brown beat Coach Lima 1-0 in the orange and blue game. But we took a lot away from it. You know, we were able to break down film all the time. And we've learned. And for the first year students, it's different for them because they didn't get thrown into the fire. So they actually have been able to learn in a much slower curve than a typical freshman is when you're just thrown into preseason and you don't even know where your legs are after day 3 because you're so sore. So their learning curve has been so much, I would say, better in the long run because they know our system and they're going to be ready when we play our first game.
So speaking of good players, Coach, Chris Thorshein scored both goals in that semifinal win over Navy. And he's been a consistent all-league and all-region player for you in the program. And he was just named to the preseason All-Patriot League team. What makes Chris such a good and talented soccer player?
Well, first, I'm going to have to correct you because Chris is playing over in Europe. Matt is the one that scored 2 goals in the semifinals. So Matt is a very special player, and much like his older brother and his father, and I'm sure his sister as well, they step up in big games. And whatever it is, their competitiveness, when it was in high school when we recruited them, when they came to Bucknell, both of them had the ability of stepping up in big moments. And that's the sign of a great player.
Coach, here, give us a little bit of a scouting report from a back to front, starting with the goalkeeper. What are we going to be? What should we be looking for and on the lookout for in each of your positions that you're going to put to the field this year?
Yeah, well, that's a tough question to answer, but it's a good question because Coach Brown, Coach Lehman, and I, we sit on the board all the time and we say, okay, do we want to play a 4-1-4-1? Do we want to play a 3-5-2? Do we want to play a 4-4-2? So we go through so many different formations, so many different personnel, and without having the opportunity to get out there and practice, it's really tough to know what's going on. But starting in a goal, Bennett Schwartz, who actually, it's a very good story. He came to us as a walk-on, and he just chose to be at Bucknell because that was the school for him. He was recruited by other schools, but he wanted to be at Bucknell. And he said, Coach, can I try out? And we said, sure, you can. And he's done all the right things, and he's going to be starting in goal for us. Across the back line, it's tough to say. The only thing that we know is Trevor Wiggins, who's one of our co-captains. He'll be in the back line. And the other 3 positions around him, we're still trying to figure that out. MJ, who's going to be on a little bit later, as a freshman, he's done a great job for us, and he's probably going to be our right back, but he still has to play Division I soccer before we know what's going on. When we get into the midfield, Alex is on here. Alex has done a very good job for us in his years, and he will most likely be the guy in the middle of the field. Even though he's not the biggest guy, we want him to be a destroyer. And his job is to just go put pressure on the ball and be a pain in the butt for the opponent. And Alex is very good at doing that. Jameson will be in the midfield with him. Matt Thorshein will be in the midfield with him. On one side, we'll probably have Patrick O'Hare, and he did a very good job for us. He had a breakout year last year. The other side, Motal, has had a very good fall semester, so we'll see how he does. And then up top, we're very excited to see Eddie Perez. Eddie started off great his first year, and then he came down with a sickness, so he couldn't play. But the potential he has, he could be one of the best forwards that we've had in Bucknell history.
So Brendan, first of all, thanks for keeping me in line. And you get as old as I am. Sometimes you mix names, but apologies to Matt. But as we mentioned earlier, you've been here for 25 years now. You've mentored so many talented players and young men through that time. And I know it's important to you to maintain that relationship after they graduate and move along in their lives. Why do you think you've been able to forge such strong connections with your alumni group?
Well, I think one is they won championships. So most of the guys that have played for me have won a Patriot League championship. So that makes your experience that much better. But I go back to 25 years ago when I was working for Coach Reynolds. I had to pick up the phone and dial a phone. But it's so much easier to keep relationships these days with our guys because I can email them, I can text them. Whenever we're on the road recruiting, it doesn't matter what part of the country we are in. I will text them and say, can we grab dinner? Okay, would you like to do something? And because Bucknellians, and Todd, you know this better than anybody, Bucknellians really appreciate their Bucknell experience. So when we have a chance to reach back out to them, they appreciate that because they really they loved their 4 years, and it was an unforgettable experience. And I don't think that's a men's soccer thing. I really think that's a Bucknell thing because I've met so many non-soccer players that they glow about Bucknell University.
Well, Brennan, I keep my fingers crossed each day that we go forward, that we're going to be able to get you guys out there and play a season. I know it's been tough on the student athletes, but thanks again for the time today and for joining us on this call, and best of luck to you in the spring.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Maisha.
Take care.
All right, time now to welcome our 3 current players to today's call. Welcome, guys, and we're going to start with our youngest player first, and welcome MJ, who hails from New Hope, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us today, MJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
MJ, good to have you here this afternoon. So as a rookie to the program, our fans may not know much about you yet. So give us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your family, and a little bit of your club high school soccer history.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. I grew up in PA, New Hope, PA, as he said, and I played soccer for PDA at Academy in New Jersey, and played up a little bit there, played with the boys, got to know the New Jersey style of play, which is very physical. I like that. And then kind of played a little bit in PA before that, and then eventually got recruited to go to Bucknell, staying close to home. PA, it's kind of nice. And both my parents are from PA. I'm staying in PA, so I think we have a thing for PA, and I think Bucknell was a good place to be.
So MJ, as a first-year student coming to Bucknell in what obviously are unusual circumstances, how's your transition been to college, and what advice maybe have some of the upperclassmen given you?
Oh, well, the transition I heard is actually a lot easier for a freshman this year than one of the other boys last year, because we weren't going as hard, and in the beginning of the last semester, it was like nice to experience kind of like academics were going while soccer was a little bit on pause. So it was good to just get in the routine of academics, knowing what I have to do, set a schedule. And then as Coach Nash said, we kind of slowly started to play soccer, and it was just a slower transition. But again, it is hard not being able to play soccer every day like I'm used to, but the transition was good. And I would say what the upperclassmen definitely told the freshmen that stuck with me is freshman year, this is the time to get your grades up, definitely focus on academics, because online school, it is difficult, but you can get through it, and it's a good base just to start with. And first semester, I took that very serious, and I'm continuing that, and I like that advice.
MJ, you had a unique experience playing with some teams in Scotland. So tell us about that opportunity, and give us some highlights from that time.
Yeah, so actually, it's a long story with that one. It starts when I was on the ODP Region 1 team, and we played over in Scotland. And then one of the guys who kind of toured the group around, he was a big name in the soccer world, so I stayed in contact with him. And then one of my good friends from PDA, he's also he's Scottish, and he also knows some people from Scotland. So we went out there. I went with his family, and for about 2 weeks, we trained with a lot of the top clubs, and it was a really good experience to compare like the soccer in America and my types of play against the soccer in Scotland. And one of the big things I noticed, the difference was just in Scotland, their whole life revolves around soccer. They're always watching it. They're always playing it. They're kicking it around with their friends. All their friends play it. So it was like a cool thing for me to take back to America, just trying to be around the game a little bit more.
So MJ, I'm sure Bison fans are eager to see you out on the pitch. And before we get to that point, tell us a little bit about your game. What are your strengths as a player, and what areas do you think you need to work on?
Yeah, I'm a right back or outside back. I prefer to be on the right side. And I think I'm just like, I'm not the most technical player. A lot of boys will say that, but I'd say I'm definitely a hard worker. I like to get up and down the line and just put in some crosses. That's my goal, is just to try and get the ball in the box, let the boys take care of the rest, and just work back. One of the things I can work on is my technical ability a little bit, and my left foot, just cutting it back, putting it in with my left foot, I could work on and whipping that ball.
Sure, coach's ears perked up, and we're happy to hear you say that. So our last question for you today is from one of our viewers, and this is from Hunter in Virginia, and he wants to know, how do student athletes balance school and soccer? Describe a sample school day.
All right, well, it's definitely a little bit different. So I guess we trained a little bit. So what my school day would have been, when we had a 7 a.m. practice, so we got out there, you got to wake up around 6, get some food in your system. Then you go to practice. All the boys are there. They're all tired. It's funny, but you get perked up when you get practice. So that goes to 7 o'clock. Goes to 7 till about 8. I had an 8:30 class, so I would have to have ran right over there and then take the class. I only have one class on Tuesday, so I would take the class for an hour and a half. And then I would just go to eat, come back, just do homework till late in the night. If I felt like the session we didn't do that much running, I would try and get a run in, try and stay fit and stuff like that. And then I try and get 8 hours of sleep. So I go to bed a little bit earlier than I would have if we weren't playing soccer, because we have those early practices. But it's definitely a fun experience. It's a lot of fun. In college, you'll notice you have a lot of free time, but soccer, like I like to stay busy, and soccer and academics, especially here at Bucknell, definitely do good on keeping me busy.
All right, MJ, thanks a lot for your time today, and good luck to you. Spring, we hope you're out there playing games real soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so our next player is sophomore midfielder Jameson Raleigh, who's from Rochester, New York. Welcome, Jameson, and thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about your recruiting story and how you actually wound up at Bucknell.
When I was a freshman in high school, I came to a camp here at Bucknell. I was super young, but I was trying to just get spotted a little early. So I came, and it didn't go. I just came to the camp. It was a 4-day camp, and then I really liked it though. I loved the school, so I decided to come back 2 years later when I was a junior and had a little bit more experience. And I actually ended up performing fairly well at the camp, and Coach Nash and some of the other Bucknell coaches noticed me, and we kept in touch after that. And that's kind of how they first saw me play, and how I fell in love with Bucknell and eventually committed.
Jameson, as a sophomore, you're not too far removed from MJ's experiences being in a first year of college. So with that, what kind of advice are you giving to the newcomers?
One thing is just like in practice, Coach Nash always makes sure that we're jogging for water breaks or having our penny on the right way and just paying attention to the details. So a lot of times we have to remind the freshmen to pay attention to the details and do the things that coach wants us to do, because if we do the little things in practice, it'll translate onto the field when we can finally play in games.
So during that first year for you, James, you played in every game, and you started 12 games. How do you feel your first season at Bucknell went on the pitch?
Yeah, I was really happy how it went. I appreciate that Coach Nash gave me the chances to play and stuff. But honestly, after that season, I felt like I could have done even a little bit more, and maybe there was a little bit more I could have taken from it. So I'm excited to hopefully be able to get out and compete again in the spring and show what I can do, and just keep improving.
All right, well, we're going to highlight your last season here a little bit. So your first collegiate goal was that game against Holy Cross, where we ended up winning in overtime. Tell us about what that felt like, scoring your first collegiate goal, and kind of take us through that moment for you.
Yeah, it was like I remember when I first went in, I was just thinking to myself, like, finally. I mean, there were games prior to that where I hit the crossbar like there were just a lot of times where I feel like that goal could have came a little sooner, but when it finally did, it just was really not relieving, but kind of motivating, and it makes me want to keep trying, keep going for it.
So Jameson, the last question we have for you today is from a viewer. It's from Bill in North Carolina. And he says, these have been trying times for Bucknell soccer players. Have there been any positives that you can take from being here in the pandemic?
It's really tough, honestly, but in terms of positives, I would say like we as a team have just shown that, there's really, we can get through anything as long as we stay together and support each other. This is something nobody, not even our coaches, have experienced before. So I think like overcoming this challenge means that no matter what challenge arises through a season or in a practice or anything like that, like I think we just know mentally now that we can overcome things together.
Well, good luck, and we hope that you're out there playing as well and have a great season for yourself and your teammates.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. So our final guest today is our veteran on the call. He's a junior. He's a midfielder from Windsor, Connecticut, and that's Alex Clark. Alex, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Alex, great to see you. So we want to learn a little bit more about you too, even here in your senior year. Your parents came over to the U.S. from Jamaica. So tell us a little bit about your family and your relationship with your two younger brothers. And for those who don't know, Alex has a brother who is a freshman on the North Carolina soccer team and saw quite a bit of action here for the Tar Heels this fall.
I would just like to say, like, family is a very important thing for me. I always try to keep in touch with them. We always have like Instagram, FaceTime calls, just because my parents refused to get an iPhone. Don't know why. But no, like growing up with my brothers was, I would say, like a big help in the competitiveness. Like that's where I get it from. Always wanted to like set the standards for them as being the big brother. And I would say it also came from my dad. We would do like 1v1s, like when my brothers ran around, and he would never ever let me win. So I feel like having that competitive side was like what really even grew it even more. And like having my brothers with me is like, not at Akeem that is at UNC. Seeing him have a season in the fall actually kind of hurt a little bit because I'm just like wishing that I could like do the same thing here at Bucknell. But it's nice to see him excelling and like and growing. And it makes me proud knowing that like he's following the footsteps as me, like wanting to play collegiate soccer. And I would say hopefully that goes for the same for the young one. I feel even like worse for him because he goes to a prep school, Loomis Chafee actually, and they are not allowing kids to play soccer. So during times like this, it's tough to get notice because junior year is a big time where like colleges get to see you play, get to see what you like have, and that's where you start getting in touch with people. So he's actually stopped committed to being a boarder and is now a day student. So hopefully he'll get one-on-one trainings with a local team close by. And so, yeah.
So Alex, before you came to Bucknell, you played with the New England Revolution Academy team. Tell us what that was like playing with players of that caliber and that type of competition.
Oh, it was a really great experience actually. Before Revs, I actually played a little pre-academy with Red Bulls. So seeing that transition from driving from Connecticut all the way to New Jersey and then driving from Connecticut all the way to Massachusetts was a huge commitment. I wouldn't get home until like midnight, and then I'd have to wake up the next morning to go to school around like 6 a.m. So I would say it brought on a lot of responsibility from an early age because as a Jamaican mother, my mom's like, listen, if the grades aren't there, no more Revs, no more Red Bulls. So I had to like get my stuff together from an early age. But the experience soccer-wise was great. I would say, again, like I feel like I hope I don't sound like a broken record, but the competitiveness there is like even on like a much higher caliber, like you say. You have guys getting called in to train with the national team. You have big national camps, and from then on, you get to travel overseas, and where soccer is, I would say, bigger in the U.S., where kids are doing it every single day, like eat, sleep, breathe soccer, like MJ said, like in Scotland, like getting the opportunity is huge, and it's something that needs to be, I would say, traveled back to the U.S. because as the sport is growing here, I feel like that's a great opportunity for kids to learn more about the game. And the U.S. wants to win a World Cup. I don't like we're not too far away from it, and we have a great squad. So I feel like the academy brings a lot of that hope to U.S. soccer.
Alex, how do you see the team shaping up this spring, and who are some of your teammates that Bison fans should be on the lookout for?
Um, I would say we're shaping up really well. It's tough, like JMO had mentioned earlier, that getting out there not with the team and doing stuff on your own is tough. But altogether, like the support from the coaches and from each other is what we need. Just keeping our mind right and just making sure we're safe, getting tested, not partying or anything like that is what's really important. And all the guys are buying into that. And we like to see that continue when we have our first game come up. For guys that I would say to be on the lookout for would definitely be the two on the call. Having that partnership with JMO in the midfield would be very, very huge. JMO has a rocket of a shot, so I've been learning from him. So hopefully me and him can bag some goals in. And MJ as well. Oh my goodness, don't get me started. He's like, I'm at like, Coach Nash calls me the destroyer, but I might have some competition with MJ just because he works hard constantly. He never stops, and he doesn't care who you are, how big you are, what the scouting report is. He will show you up, and he's just very, very, very brave kid, and I love playing with him every day.
So Alex, you serve on Bucknell Athletics Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, and you've been an advocate for Black athletes' voice in anti-racism and other social justice issues. Why does this mean so much to you, and what kinds of change would you like to promote?
I would say it means so much to me because when I first came in, I was like a freshman. I was two of only Black kids on the team. That was Bernie and myself. And coming from like where I'm from Connecticut, and like the prep schools I've already like been to, I was always a part of a people of color a group. So I just wanted to like get involved like right away. So having that opportunity for Maisha to come to me over the summer and just saying like, hey, join this diversity equity council. Like this is what it is. This is what we're establishing. And so something like that is like really what I want to get in part of. And taking Africana studies here at Bucknell has also like motivated me to do more. As long as what had happened over the summer as well is something that we need to educate others. I feel like we can see how this country is divided when it comes to things like that. So I mean, like it's important, and I feel like it's my responsibility to be able to, I don't know, be that voice, that connecting factor for like from as an athlete to these groups. So yeah, that's where I get my interest from. I just feel like I need to be that person, be that guy.
Thanks, Alex, and for all that you're doing to help the department and your fellow student athletes in this space in particular. Super proud of you. But our final question today is from one of our audience members. It's from Sebastian right here in Lewisburg, and he wants to know, what habit of a teammate have you tried to implement in your life or on the pitch?
A habit? I would say it's a good question, Sebastian. I would say as being the guy that someone can always talk to. I feel like I'm very easygoing, easy person to talk to. Like not even just about soccer, literally about anything you could think of. Like I would respond, talk to you. I know MJ, unfortunately, he was stuck in the hotel a little bit earlier. I mean, he was so bored, he just wanted to talk to me. We FaceTime for a little bit, had some few laughs, just keeping him motivated that don't worry, like we'll get through this together. So yeah, I mean, I'm a great FIFA guy, so people love to like try to test their luck against me in FIFA. It doesn't go the best for them, but hey, it's what it is.
Well, that's great. Alex, thanks so much for spending some time with us today, and good luck to you and your teammates as you all get ready for this season.
Thank you very much.
All right. A special thanks to all our guests today. We certainly appreciate their time. And that just about wraps up today's show. I want to thank Jeffrey Campbell, John Terry, and Jess O'Shaughnessy for their assistance with today's event. Our next event in our season preview series, sponsored by Giant, will be tomorrow, Wednesday, February 24th at noon, and that will feature the women's soccer program. And as a reminder, you can find a complete schedule of all of our season preview shows on the Bucknell Athletics website. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great afternoon. Go Bice.